Welcome, 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 friends. Welcome, friends. New friends, old friends, friends to be. Everybody's welcome. I hope you guys are having a great Thursday. We're going to run quickly through my sound check here. Just give me a couple of seconds for YouTube to catch up. Hopefully you can hear me fine. I will test that with my phone here real quick. I've seen the pros do that. We're going to quickly go through the cameras just to make sure we got everything we're supposed to be. In the meantime, get yourself comfortable. I'm going to finish my Coke here. Welcome, friends. Welcome, friends. New friends, old friends, friends to be. Everybody. That works. Good deal. That works. I don't know if you heard my phone there. That was supposed to be part of the test, right? So I guess we are sounding quite all right. Today I'm flying solo. So I'm going to ask for a lot of patience from you guys. Let me just open the chat just to make sure that we have the window up and running. So that's the first check. Let me switch to my screen just to make sure that you can see xTool Studio, right? So xTool Studio should be there right now on the screen. So that's good. Let me just bring it back to yours truly here. Now I'm going to give you another angle here just so you see that we're not messing around here. This is for when I have to do a bit of a close-up, right? So I'll just go like this, right? Check this out type of thing. If I can get it straight, there it is, right? So that is that. And there is an above camera I want to check out also. And I'm doing my best here with the lighting, right? So maybe you can see it. Everything is looking good on my camera, on my monitor. So I've seen a few of you guys already gathering. Yes, indeed. And this is just another excuse just to see you guys. I did a few live streams a few months back. I haven't been really keeping up with them, not because I don't want to, not because I don't have the equipment or even paying for the subscription. It's just life. I've been busy with the shop, been busy with the overall, family changes as of late, right? And of course, that 9 to 5. But I thought, I got to get online. I was planning on doing a regular video about the topic that we will cover today, which is the material test of photos within xTool Studio, right? But I thought, I got to brush off my skills here for live streaming. It gets better towards the end. At the beginning, it's pretty shaky, right? As I'm trying to get used to the how to manage the switch here for the cameras and everything to fall in place. But listen, so why don't we get going? It's 10 p.m. out here. I trust it's around 4 p.m. Eastern. Thank you guys for accommodating me. It's always a pleasure to come and get some of this stuff out there for you guys, sharing my experiences, some of the tests I tend to run over the garage. It is amazing to just being able to come here online and just share with people such as yourselves that have similar interests, similar hobbies. So let me start with this little guy. This is the guy that we're going to talk about today, right? So this is the Finnish owl here, the completed owl. He's not from Finland or anything like that, but, well, I don't know. Anyway, this is something I'm so proud of. It is amazing. It's the result of many, many, many months of following the process, sticking with the testing, and just learning from my mistakes. This guy, as many of my engravings, started something like this. This guy, right? This is a material test array, right? Columns and rows of power and speed combinations. And, as with most things, it does take time to go through them. You have to commit to the process, and eventually you will end up like this, right? Now, I have tried this little guy with other printers. Right? So that one, the big guy was done with the S1, the xTool S1. This little guy was done with the Bambu Lab H2D. Went through the same process, went through the same testing. And I'm just sharing that not to confuse things. Today is about xTool Studio, but just to basically say it's all part of the same process. Trust the process, right? And then if you ever seen my videos, right, and you've seen many of this test through all of them, right, you're probably thinking, hey, listen, this is all nice and good, but what am I supposed to do with this test, right? So this is what we're going to try to figure out today. And this whole thing actually started with a question from one of you guys. After seeing me do material testing in some of the newer software, like the xTool Studio, or Bambu Labs Studio Suite. No, Bambu Lab Suite, right? I'm mixing them up. Bambu Lab Suite. Somebody asked me, hey, listen, can I do the same thing in LightBurn? And I'm like, yes, of course. I know that I've tried it. It took some work, but it does work. And this is a year and a half, 2 years, perhaps close to 3 years back. So as I typed the answer, yes, you can do it, it's a bit manual, whatever. I thought, I'm going to go and double check this. So I did. So yes, absolutely, you can do this in LightBurn, testing your own photos inside LightBurn. But I was very surprised to find out how manual the whole setup still was. Everything was manual, from the cropping of the picture to the creation of the rows and columns to the labels. Everything was very time-consuming. And I was surprised and feeling very spoiled, to be honest with you. Now, this is not a LightBurn bashing of any sort. We're not here in a bashing session. I'm a paying customer. I use it. It's a fantastic piece of software, right? I was just expecting this process of testing photos to be more automated by now. So I want to basically do the same I did in LightBurn, but in xTool Studio, where getting this test build is much quicker. But making the grid is the easy part, right? The useful part is actually to know how to build the test and kind of figure what the test tells you, and what you're supposed to do with the results. So we're going to talk about what happens when the engraving is too faint, for example, or too strong, how I decide which setting deserves another test, and how I eventually get from this, like I said, from this little guy to this fella, right? So that is the plan for today. Greetings. Hello, Germany. Good to have you. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. So that's the idea. Now, because this is live, you're going to see a lot of, me moving around, stopping, doing, extended conversations on things. I get excited about this stuff, right? But we are here as long as you want to stay here. I can talk about this stuff for hours. So as long as you have questions and you want to stay online, we can stay as long as you want to. Now, I'm going to edit this video, this live stream, down into a tighter version later on, right? So it's easier to rewatch and to follow along if you want to. So if you have any questions, throw them in the chat, but with a fair warning though. Because if they're good questions, you may end up becoming YouTube famous because I'm going to keep the best questions in the edited version too. So that's where we are. Let me just catch up here with the chats here. Hello from New Mexico. In Germany, yeah, it's pretty late for you, right? That we're on the same time zone. So appreciate you being here, right? So, there are many people out there doing some of this similar work, right? But what I don't hear people talking about enough is the actual process of testing these photos. Within xTool Studio and within Bamboo Suite, the process is, a couple of clicks. That's why I want to have other parts of the conversation mixed in today's live stream, because if we go through the software, is literally a couple of clicks. So the thing of xTool Studio, and today, as a matter of fact, there was an update, is that they keep improving the process. And as you will find out through, investing time learning it, if you're new to it, or if you're coming back, rather, if you're coming from LightBurn into xTool Studio, little by little, and I know this is going to sound a little harsh, but little by little, you will be very comfortable in xTool Studio, and you will probably have no need to go into LightBurn, rather, unless you are lasering something more complex or doing, more vector type of work that requires, more advanced type of editing. But even then, xTool Studio is catching up really, really, really quick. So let me just double check here. My camera is flickering. I hope it's okay. If we end up running into issues, I'm going to edit this stuff, so don't worry so much about it. So the main thing with the grids here that you have, I don't want to confuse anyone, is how come there's so many and they're spread out like this and like that, right? Well, the thing about the grids is you are free to build as many as you want. I normally do 5 by 5, right? Simply because that gives me 25 different models to choose from, right? Then, as I get closer, I do either, say, in this case, I do 9, right? Or then I bring it down to 6. The point is, start with a wider net, right? Because, the first grid is really not trying to give me a winner, right? It's just trying to get me in the right neighborhood, right? So I've done this in other engravings, right? This was way too large. Plus, there were some other issues. I bumped the S1, and this got out of whack, right? So with that in mind, you can set up as big of a grid as you want to. Some folks will say, the more the merrier, right? You have more choices here to pick from. But you got to mind also the real estate that you have, the time that you have, because the more of this stuff you print, the more you're going to be there in front of the machine. And as I said, you start with a wider net, right? And then slowly you start getting closer to where you want to be. Let me switch this camera for a test. And just to make sure that I can show it there. This is from a wolf I did before the owl. And this guy came out pretty good. But again, I was inching the whole process in to get closer and closer. A larger net to cast, right? A larger grid to eventually, come down to the smaller one, which got me the settings to get this guy done, right? There's a little bit of a sheen there, right? So that is basically the process. You're not trying to find winners with the first grid or the second grid, right? You're trying to get yourself in the neighborhood. And then I take those few results that I actually like and then give them enough space to show me what is really happening here, you know? So material testing is not about finding one magic number per se. It's about gathering enough information from all this stuff to make a better decision. That's what we're doing. So the thing is that with canvas engraving, you are going to have a bit of a hard time finding the right settings without doing some proper research. There are few folks that are doing a lot of good canvas engraving on Facebook, and they share their settings. But treat them as a starting point, right? Not as commitments. The thing is that it's always better to see the results as people show you their process, because one thing is to have a finished engraving, and another thing is how do they get there, right? So the results can always change, right? That's why I'm saying, you know, treat them as a starting point. Your results can change because of, say, you know, material. You know, not all paints are created equal. Not all canvases are created equal. The surface preparation, especially for canvases, is something that you really have to mind. Of course, the machines, right? I've tested using 40 watts lasers. I've tested on 10 watt, and I tried to do it on a 5 watt, but to be honest with you, I mean, it's doable. It just took forever. So, and there is a lot of personal preference that takes place with this stuff, right? You and I can be in the shop, and you will like one little, you know, setting, combination, power, speed combination, and I will like another one. It doesn't make either one wrong, right? The software is basically building the test, right? They cannot tell you which one is the one that you like or I like, or that the person that will be receiving this, whether a gift or buying it, will like, right? So that part's still up to us. So there are many ways of doing this, but let me show you the way I do it. We're going to go into xTool Studio now. Let me switch my camera. If my mouse wants to collaborate, let me switch. xTool Studio, right? Some folks like to have their pictures here on the side. I like to leave the screen completely open and empty so you guys can focus on the screen rather than my facial expressions here or whatever. So you tell me in the comments what is your preference for future videos, of course, right? So we are in xTool Studio. Like I said, this morning there was an update. I always come in and triple check my my software. Let me just double check. Right, software update. Current version is 1814. Check for updates. And this is the latest version. It doesn't hurt to come in and double check, right? We got to go through that too soon enough, because I haven't done a video about all the stuff that they loaded here. Look at all these generators. They got a ton. They got rulers. You know, they got all this stuff. But that's material for another video there. So we'll focus on that some other time. So this is my little owl here, right? If you see my previous videos, you've seen this owl featured in some of the other videos. Is of course not a random image, right? If anything, I test the image I'm going to be engraving. So let me just place it a little bit more center so you can see better. Right? The point here is to understand how this image is going to behave on the same material that I'm going to be using. So it's a little bit dark, this guy is, right? So with that in mind, what we are always after when it comes to pictures, right? this guy is, let me just zoom it in a little bit more so you can see the detail here. But what is great about this image is the same stuff that you should be looking for when you're looking for your own images, right? Make sure that the is sharp, right? That's got good exposure and very useful. This contrast helps a lot, especially on canvas and on slate, right? This stuff has got a ton of detail. Let me bring you back. A ton of detail, and those feathers, those eyes there. It's just a very good looking owl, if you don't mind me saying. So, the texture is really nice too. So basically, as you are working with your pictures, don't forget that the software can't really do miracles for you, right? So what I mean by that is, simply put, a good quality photo is going to get you a good quality engraving. So if the eyes are blurry in the original, right, the laser is going to have a hard time engraving that, right? The laser is not going to all of a sudden, find eyelashes or create eyelashes for you, right? We're not there yet. Maybe with AI here soon enough. But if the highlights are not there, the software is not going to put them there for you. So a good image is basically going to save you a lot of grief, and it gives you a much better chance of a good engraving coming out. So if you have your phone from 10 years ago and you take a picture and you're expecting to get fantastic results out of that engraving, most likely it's not going to happen. So always shoot for the best quality picture you can get, and of course it always helps to test a lot. So right. So let's get back to the owl here. You see, I'm telling you, I start talking about this stuff and I just get too excited and I forget what we're here for, right? So let me show you the process I follow. So again, we're back in the studio. This is a big picture, right? So let me zoom out, right? What I do is basically, as I import this picture, first thing I do, and I often do very minimal work when it comes to editing the picture, but I tend to adjust some minimal settings here. So number one, this is black and white already. But if you have a color picture, you got to turn into a grayscale. When it comes to the actual grayscale settings, and all this stuff is subjective to what you like, right? So you move the slider a little bit, less is more in this kind of circumstances. You touch adjust a little bit, again, to your liking, right? I bring the sharpness all the way up. Never fails. All the way up. And basically, unless there are some major issues, you can mess with the contrast or the brightness rather, and then the contrast if you want to. I often don't do any of that. I often leave this alone. The next step is the important one. I click on invert, right? Invert is going to turn this into an X-ray, into a negative, right? And as it does, this will allow you to engrave properly on this type of black surfaces like the canvas and the slate stones, for example. So that is one thing you have to do when you are working with canvases and slate. Always invert. When you're working with, say, plywood, you don't need to. The engraving that is getting done on the plywood is dark on a lighter color wood in this case. When you're doing this on a slate, for example, the laser, as it removes the material from the stone, is turning that engraving into a lighter color, whitish of sorts, right? That's why we need to invert, right? So again, on plywood, you leave this alone. On stone, And on canvases, you invert. Is this true for everything that is dark color? Often, yes. But, I'm talking today about canvases, and I'm mixing in some slate because I love working with the slate. And that is about all I do with the image when it comes to the editing. Let me bring myself back here. Folks always ask me, hey, you do a lot of editing? No, this is what you saw is what I do. But are you bringing it into Photoshop? Are you doing anything in Canva or, whatever other software? No. What you saw is what I do. It works. And again, it works great for canvases, and it works great for slate. Sorry for the noise. Right, so this slate tray that I'm working on, right? I engrave both sides because I don't have enough slate and I don't want to waste material, right? And basically, I'm going through the whole process. I mean, I'm narrowing it down. I started with a 25, a 5x5 grid, right? 25 different choices there. Well, I'm narrowing it down right now to 4 and 4 because I realized that I could go much faster and still get great results. I think I was going 150 millimeters per second. And as I'm thinking about things, I'm thinking, well, this machine can do much, much faster engraving. So I bump it up to like 315, 320. It was a little too much. Brought it down to 300. And that's where I'm at right now. So that's what I'm working on right now. So as you can see, I apply the whole process to slate and canvases. It's the stuff that I love to work on. You can bring this to whatever process you want to, whatever material you want to. So let me bring it back to the owl. And we're back with our owl. What do I do from here? I do cropping. I crop this image. Why? Well, I don't need 25 copies of a whole owl to get my testing done. I need useful samples, right? And with that, I also save on material, less engraving time, and less engraving time. Yeah. And I'm just reading here on the side which phase group you're referring on. Right, there are quite a few. Laser engraving for beginners, some of the xTool, S1 group specifically, xTool in general. Just do a quick search on Facebook for canvas engraving, and you're going to find a ton. Just be mindful of the lasers that they're using. Some folks are using 20 watts, others 40. So we'll get a little messy if you just go for whatever settings without checking that out. You can always ask. People are really cool too. You can always ask. Right. So sorry about that. I got distracted there, but it was a good question. So yeah, I'm cropping them too because it's easy for me to compare. Right. I'm looking for the smallest part of the picture that gives me the most useful information. Right. So the highlights, the dark areas, right? That often the eyes are what give you a pretty good combination of things, right? Maybe I shouldn't have inverted it just yet so you could see the original here. Let me see if I can adjustments. Let me just so if you can see here the details, right? So I picked the eyes because they got a good combination of, contrast, different combinations of the textures of the feathers in this case, right? Shadows, if you're fancy, you can refer to this as mid-tones, transitions, highlights. I don't speak like that, but I've seen people talking like that. So it's fancy talk for, shades, black and white, little gray tones, grayscale tones, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I mean, this is incredible amount of detail. So I do the invert. You can always do the invert after, but because we're going to jump to the material test to build the array here fairly soon, I do that before the cropping. So I just click on crop, right? So brings you here to the crop tool. I do one by one. Now this thing is going to move fast. So I'm just going to try to do my best, right? So as you can see, it zooms into that area. So I'm moving around. Hopefully you can see my mouse detail there with those little icons, right? And I try to place it in a location where I get a lot of different type of combination of things, right? This feathers, this eyes, this combination of contrast, color, you know, that's why the eyes are so crucial for my testing. You can pick whatever you want, but the eyes is where usually is at when it comes to engravings. So again, not bashing on LightBurn, but just to get the cropping done, you know, it will test you. It will test you also. So yeah, that's about it when it comes to the cropping. So then what I do, and it doesn't have to be exact. I mean, don't worry if you cannot get it just exact. What you're doing is just trying to get as much of a combination of elements here from this subsection of the picture so that you can get some proper samples. And I just click save, right? Let me just move it here again. So that is my little sample of that bigger picture, right? Of the bigger owl picture. And again, you know, I don't need to have, you know, imagine you are trying to engrave. Imagine you're trying to engrave 25 samples of this guy on your canvas. The real estate is going to be suffering. You might have a lot of canvas right now, but the more you test, the more you're going to realize you gotta save them. So that's the reason why I take that sample, right, and I make a bunch of little samples of that, right? We crop it and we create this. It's a lot easier to see, to appreciate the contrast, right? Rather than having a whole, you know, owl being printed or engraved on your canvas. I hope it makes sense. Let me check here if there are any other comments or questions. No, nothing. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Yeah, I just do a quick search on Facebook, canvas engraving, and you start seeing a lot of stuff. You will see a lot of my stuff too. But if you have any questions, you can always ask me there too. I have a few posts there. I try to be very, you know, consistent when it comes to sharing what I'm working on. And canvas engravings was the stuff that got me started. So I love going back, engraving them, talking about them, and I'm posting regularly on my page and also in some of these groups. So you will most likely run into me there when you are searching for canvas engraving. Me and many other guys. I mean, there are a lot of people doing this stuff. So, you know, the thing with this stuff is there's a lot of trial and error. You know, when I was doing the first couple of canvases, I was taking the approach of doing multiple passes. So I was doing 2 passes, right? One was very light when it came to power, very fast with the speed. And then my second pass was always, you know, a little less power, a little more speed, so that I could get closer and closer. Even with this testing, I was doing the same thing. But then one day I thought, you know what? I just finished the first pass. It looks okay, but it took me 1 hour. That light is flickering there. let me see if it's not going to, something else going to happen there. Let me just kind of switch you back here to the screen. Let me just do something about that light. It's flickering and I didn't know why. I didn't want you guys seeing my short shorts. So, right. So then I decided, you know what? I'm standing here for 2 hours doing this engravings, right? About an hour, 45 minutes for the first pass. Then it would take me another 45 minutes for the second pass. So then I dedicated a whole afternoon just to do material test arrays, until I figure my sweet spot there for the numbers. I made a video about it. That's where the wolf came from, and that was the first time I used the owl too. So if you want to check that out, you got to put in the time, and I did, and I haven't gone back to doing the 2 passes there since. So I don't know if you guys have tried to do this with color, but that's another fun thing to try. Right now, what I'm using is what I call the WWGB, right? 2 coats of white, 1 coat of gray, and 1 coat of black. So 2 white, 1 gray, and 1 black, right? But it's a lot of fun to also try it with color. And of course, I don't have one. I should have brought one closer. But check out some of my earlier videos because I got a lot of stuff that I was doing color on canvas first, canvas panels, canvas, the frame type, plywood, and then I did MDF because you can do the same stuff using MDF. So, you know, it's one of those things where you dedicate the time, you enjoy what you're doing. The wife is also very supportive and flexible. So, I dedicate my time to do the testing, right? And as such, let's go back to the testing. So let me switch you back to the owl here. Got pretty lonely. xTool Studio again. And like I said, that's all I do. I do a quick adjustment of the pictures here, you know, and then I do the invert, right? And I don't know why it's not showing there the invert, but it's obviously inverted. And let me see if I can just show it here. Well, that's interesting. It obviously changed our settings. It is inverted, but well, you guys saw it. So what I did, I just inverted. I did the grayscale. You know, I moved the little guys here a little bit, right? And then I do the sharpness all the way. I mess with the brightness, do a little bit. It all depends. It's all about your taste, right? See if I don't invert. Anyway. And then what I do next is to create the actual array. Let me just center you a little bit here so we can see. Maybe we'll make this a little smaller too, so it doesn't take the whole screen. But you select your picture, right? And then you go to the tools and generators, and you're looking for the material test array, right? Now, by default, you get 3x3. Like I said, I use 5x5. You can also do 7x7. It all depends on the real estate, how much time you have, how much time you want to spend in front of the machine, right? And for that, we'll change it here. Columns and rows. Let's just do 5x5 just to play with easy numbers today, right? And for my power and speed, I already know what I'm using. But let's just say, you know, let me just kind of give you my recommendation. So for the Big Owl, I did power 22, speed 350, right? So what I do next is, let's say I heard that from my favorite YouTuber or creator, or whoever you follow, right? 350 speed, 22 power. I try to place it in the middle. And what I mean by that, I've said that before. Let me see if I can move this stuff It's not going to allow me to grab it, but we can center a little better so you can see it. What I mean by that is, for example, I would do power, say max power 30, right? And then minimum power 20, right? So that places my 22 somewhere around here for power, right? Then for speed, I'm going to use 400 as the max speed, and we will use 300 as the minimum speed. My laptop is starting to get a little bit loud here with all the stuff that's going on. So your computer might lag a little bit. Just let it finish, let it run, because it's just normal. This softwares are pretty heavy. So what I told you was that I used 350 for speed and 22 for power. So I tried to place it somewhere here in the middle, right? And then we can worry about the spacing. I normally leave it at 2 millimeter spacing. I've seen people do 5. You know, that's again your preference. If you have more canvas, more real estate, or what have you, you can change that. And that's about what I do there, right? So we click done, right? And then we're basically done with the array. Let me place it there so you can see it better. Middle of the screen, right? So there are a few steps, but none compared to what I was doing last week. Definitely more manual, and yeah, it took a lot longer just to do the cropping. And I was a little rusty too, so it took me a while to kind of get it done the first time around. The second time around, it got better, but still, yeah, it will test your patience. And like I said, the more you use Studio, the more you will figure that there's a very few reasons to go back to the other software. So, right. So let me check if there are any questions. Let me move the screen here. No questions. Feel free to ask your questions. Yes, indeed. So this guy is on a canvas panel, right? Canvas panel with the 2 coats of white to start, 1 coat of gray, and then 1 coat of black. And what I mean by coats, I mean, this is 1 coat for me. So you go once, sideways, once up and down, just following the instructions on the can. And that is 1 coat for me. Then I let it dry. Usually a couple of hours, just dry to the touch. Then what I do, I come back with the next coat of white, same stuff, right? All the way through. And then I let it dry again to the touch, right? Making sure that my fingers are not sticking, that I'm not running the paint or nothing. This last few weeks, it's been awful to try to get anything done in my garage because it's so warm, 39, 40 degrees. So it's not very pleasant. But anyway, dry to the touch, right? Then I come back. So I did 2 white. Then I come back with 1 gray. For my black and whites, I normally do 1 gray. I love the contrast that gives you. You can try without that in the middle, but I love the way it looks. And I do 1 other coat of gray. Again, dry to the touch. You're kind of getting the idea, right? And then the final coat is black. 1 coat. What I do then is I let it dry overnight. I don't touch it. Let me see if this works. Oh, look at this. I'm there. Yeah. I don't touch it again for usually overnight. You can say 24 hours or whatever, but overnight, and that's it. And check it one more time just to make sure that it's not, still curing. I've heard some people, they wait 3 days for the paint to properly cure. This is your run-of-the-mill, big box store acrylic paint, matte, and that's it. Doesn't have any sort of weird additives or anything like that. So some folks have tried automotive paint or some other fancier paints. They claim they get great results. I haven't tried that. This is just regular paint. So again, it's your preference. You can try whatever you want. I've done colors. Let me show you here real quick. Where is it? I know it's here. You guys have seen this guy. This is MDF. A little crude there, but this is MDF, folks. So it's a nice contrast there with the black and white. But basically, what I did with this guy, 2 coats of white. Then I did a coat of yellow. Then I did a coat of red. And then a coat of black. And again, I did a bunch of material tests. And yeah, it worked beautifully. And this is MDF. It's a little more shiny than, the canvas panels that I normally use. And of course, it's been a year and a half or a year since I made this guy. So I've dropped it a few times. I neglected it in some boxes. That's another thing. You're going to notice some of this stuff here, right? That's because as I pile them up, I don't have a lot of space in the garage. I tend to pile them up. And of course, the paint will stick. But yeah, I'm very happy with the way this guy turned out. This image came from Creative Fabrica. They got a ton of different musical instruments and things like that. The quality is really, really incredible. And I made this for my wife. She loves to sing, but she was going through some, tougher days there. And I was just kind of making this stuff to kind of cheer her up. And yeah, she loved it. And again, I'm so happy with this thing. It looks really good. I hope it shows well for you guys there. But yeah, that's all following basically the same process. Excuse me. Let me just take a sip of water here, or Coke, whatever's left. So yeah, you start with the recommended settings that you come across from people that you trust from the web or YouTube, right? Make sure that we're talking about the same material, we're talking about the same process, we're talking about the same machine, right? The same wattage. Some people have complained, and this is another video I'm working on, because some people have complained that they tried this, speed and power combination and it didn't work. And then you start talking to them and you realize I was talking about millimeters per second and they were talking about millimeters per minute or inches. I was talking about lines per centimeter. They were talking about DPI or lines per inch, those kind of things. So make sure you're also watching that part of the whole setup as you're learning from folks online. Like I said, often I post my stuff with all my settings and I try to be very specific as to what I'm talking about. Am I talking about centimeters? Am I talking about inches? And am I talking about line interval? That's another one that comes up often. And those numbers, some of them vary, pretty much. Lines per centimeter can be 180, but then interval can be 0.08, and that will mess you up in your process. So The point is, as you're going through this stuff and you create your material test array and you are evaluating the combinations here, just don't choose lightly. I tend to, like I said, my favorite YouTuber said, say 350 and 22 or 23 or 25. So that square, let me bring you back. I'm talking here as if you can see my screen. So my favorite YouTuber, like I said 350 and 25 power per se, or 22 power. So, I build my array to put that recommended setting in the middle here, right? That way, I still have room to play and see results up or down. So you got a whole array where you can put your numbers. But like I said, I put them in the middle, and then you go and you will see, power and setting combinations a little bit lower, a little bit higher, and you will have a much better time finding the stuff that you appreciate more, right? So it's a combination of things, right? If the recommendation is pretty good, I still go back and double check. As I said, there's so many variables. It's just worth it to kind of go through it. So, and right, I mean, this is the material test array as it is inside xTool Studio, right? And as you can see, the text is pretty clear here. The speed is on the left here, right? And the power is down here, right? So columns change the power, right? While rows change the speed. And for some of the other materials, it's a lot easier because there are many recommended settings inside xTool Studio. So for example, if you want to create the material test array again, right, we can go back into the material test array, and let's say we're doing, stone. They have it pretty much here, so they give you some good starting points to create your material test array, right? But in our case, with Canvas, yeah, we're basically on our own to be able to find that right combination of power and speed. And if you remember, for power, I was doing 30 max, right, and 20 the minimum. And then for speed, I was doing 400 max. And my computer's catching up there. 1 second. And 300 for speed, right? And it's catching up, right? The spacing, as I said, you can play with that. It all depends on the amount of space that you have. So here you have 25 combinations, So with this, you're going to be having an easier time, finding a pattern. So 5x5 is pretty good for this size canvases. You can go, like I said, a little bigger, but then you're gonna start kind of running into issues, running out of canvases pretty quickly, or stone. So, and again, one direction changes power, and the other direction changes speed. So, and every square is basically a combination of the two. If you double click, right, you will see here on the side, 20 power, 375, right? And like I said, for my 40 watt xTool S1, this is where I normally land, 350 and 25, or 350 and 22 or something if you're really, really picky. Sometimes Some of them are very close. And that means you're pretty much on the sweet spot. So the what you do at that point is go for the one that is the fastest. Often you're going to find that in this particular row, some of them look fairly close. Let me show you. So they start looking fairly close, right? And that's, speed, power, right? And what you do then, you start going for the ones that will show, that will finish quicker with a faster speed. So, sorry, the wife is messaging here. 1 second. Right. So basically, lower power, produces lighter results. Slower speed produces stronger, right? So that's the game there, to try to find that perfect combination. They need to work together, Don't just be assuming that 80% power is good, right? Think 80% power at this speed will produce this results. 22% power at 350 will produce this result, right? I can't really read it here. 24 and 400 will produce this result, and it's all a matter of what you like and what you're comfortable with. Often, a lot of it has to do with how much time you have, how much material you have, especially when you run through so many tests like I do. So one little trick I do, and it's because, not all the lasers that I have cameras. I mean, most of us, our lasers don't have cameras yet. So in order for me to stay within the boundaries of where I want to be at, especially because I do these designs before I measure or mark the material inside the xTool studio, I just, I don't trust the manufacturer, so I double check the measurements. In this case, for this guy is 18. Let me switch it. So this guy is, 18 centimeters by 24 centimeters, right? So 18 by 24. So what I do, I come back to xTool Studio. So we set 18 by 24, right? And I just draw a quick rectangle, right? So 18 by 24 is 180. Everything is in millimeters here. And one thing I didn't do, so this needs to be unlocked. So 18 by 24. So that's 240. 240 millimeters here. So what I do then is I tend to shrink it's all grouped here. So you click on one square and it's going to be, okay. And then I just try to fit it as well as I can within that square. And that is simply so that I use all the possible real estate. And you see, that's why it's important to kind of make sure that, you're placing things where you need to, and you decide you want to do 5 by 5, 7 by 7, but you still have to fit within this fictitious canvas, right? 18 by 24. It doesn't have to be perfect. Right now, we're just trying to kind of see where things land. And again, just take your time. You can trust the manufacturer. Often they're pretty spot on, but I trust and verifies, right? So this gives me a pretty good reference, and it's always good to know how much space you have, and then you start deciding. At this point, I decide basically, do I want the text here? Do I need the text rather? Because I know the bigger numbers are speed, and the lower numbers are power. So often I can, basically do without them. It's a risky move if you're going to do a lot of them and then a few months later you're done, and then you are back engraving again. But it will save some of the real estate, right? So it's a choice, right? Some of you guys have fancier equipment. You can take care of this using your cameras. Us folks without cameras often just have to rely on this kind of little, gimmicky approach to things. Within xTool Studio, this is the approach. If I was at the shop in the garage with my xTool S1, you can also mark your canvas, and that way you will know for certain how big the canvas or how big your space is. But this is a quick reference point. Let me check the comments real quick. Right. Sorry, I need to run for it. Yeah, no worries. I mean, we all have things to do, right? So, especially if you have a night shift, it's pretty late out here too. So, this screen just disappeared again. Let me bring it back. Well, good morning, Mr. Danger. Good morning, Mr. Danger. This is a pleasure. Kia ora. From New Zealand. Pretty early out there, isn't it? So, good to see you. It's been a while. You guys have to check out Rick and the good work that he's doing. So he's in New Zealand. I don't even know what time is over there, sir. And if you want to advertise your website, of course, your page, feel free. And thank you for the coffee. Wow, great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Good to see you, as always. We gotta do a bit more catching up there. So, like I said, this might be overkill with the little framing of this square around the material test array, but I always want to make sure that I know where I'm placing my material test array. It doesn't take much to go one way or the other, so it gets a little bit dangerous. Now, another thing I do with the material test is just for you guys now, I'm placing it here in the middle, right? Just so you can see it a little better. But often what I do, this is a pretty big grid, but often what I do, I try to place it on one of the corners so that I have a little more space there down below to do more testing. Again, is what I do, not necessarily something that needs to be done, but I do it here. I could have done it in the other one, but right, I tried to place it in some of the higher ends or lower end, whatever, so I have more space there to engrave later. This is probably a better example. I did this with the Bamboo Lab one. You can see the array a little better. There was something odd about this paint, but yeah, I mean, in the end, it worked out good. But as you can see, I start with the bigger arrays here, 5x5. That gives me a nice range, right? Place it as close to the corner as I could. At that time, I didn't bother removing the text, right? To be honest, I probably didn't know at that time how to do it within Bamboo Suite. But either way, I placed it in the corner so I could have more real estate. I tried to move it over there, and then I got a little wiser and removed the what's it called, the labels, and I started getting closer and closer, right? So you start bigger, you get to a smaller section, then you get more individual engravings, and finally you test the one that you think is the right one for you. And like I was showing you earlier, I mean, it didn't turn out too bad, right? Now, That's all the testing I did. This other guy, and this is with the Bamboo Lab H2D. It's a 40-watt. It's got a 40-watt module there. This guy is much better. Some people commented, oh, this is so much better. Well, it is lighter, it is bigger, and all that good stuff. But this is a year and a half of experience with that xTool machine. This was a week of experience with the H2D, and basically this amount of testing. So the results will come if you put in the time. That's what it is. So, you just gotta keep going. And I always recommend to trust the process. Start big, then start getting more and more closer to your preferred settings. Right? So you move into the corners, and to save some of that real estate, like I said, it's all about saving on material, because I don't have an unlimited amount of canvases. I don't have an unlimited amount of paint, so I leave myself enough space there to be able to test more squares or more individual samples later on. So. And if you choose not to engrave the labels, well, you're kind of taking a bit of a risk. But what I do is, when I like a particular setting, I come back and I use a white marker, right? Just a paint marker. This guy's a little beat up. I don't know what happened. Because if you see, I was writing this with a pencil. I can read it. It's not a problem, but it's a bit more difficult to see what is what. Let me show you that white markers start to fail on me, so I start using the black marker. But basically, as I start getting closer and closer to what I like, yes, I have a problem. I have a problem, yes. That's when I realized I could go faster. That's why I have so many, because I could go faster, and that was great. And the detail, I mean, is pretty good. So, yeah, I tend to remove the labels, and then I just add in, when things are a little close, I tend to write all of them, because, like I said, I'm getting closer to that range that I like. At that point, either or could go, right? So use that white marker, or you can use a black marker, right? Just remember to write that down, because, I know you guys are all young and great memory and all that good stuff, but eventually it's going to fail you. So, it's trial and error. See what works for you. I'm just trying to save you some time. I started posting and doing this stuff about a year and a half ago, 2 years now. And just there were some folks doing this stuff, but I didn't see a particular video that had the explanation at the pace that I like to follow, and with the details that I like. So when I started posting my pictures on Facebook, the wife said, hey, listen, you're answering a lot of these questions. You're putting all the settings, all that good stuff. Why didn't you make a video? And I did. Upload it to YouTube, and, here we are today. Which, by the way, I'm in a celebratory mood, because, we're close to 12,500 subscribers. So thank you very much. Many of you guys have been here from the beginning. Your support, your coffees, it's all amazing. And some of you guys have visited before. You still haven't subscribed. But if you find yourself visiting more and more often, go ahead and subscribe. Stay a while, And we have a lot of things to talk about when it comes to this type of engravings. There are a lot of other stuff that I'm doing with the lasers. So keep coming back and subscribe. And of course, if you're getting something out of this live stream. I appreciate those likes and the comments. I tell you, with the way YouTube is working nowadays, many changes. I go from thousands of views to all of a sudden a couple of hundred views. So, the more we chat down in the comments, the more the algorithm is going to like the channel, going to recommend it. More people are going to watch it. And this fantastic hobby is going to get shared across YouTube. I think it's just a fantastic thing. And it's a beautiful thing to get into. And then, of course, the slate and all that great stuff, too. So anyway, let me show you real quick on xTool Studio. This is the beauty of this guy. It's like you basically ungroup and you tell it don't output it. Select all the stuff, don't output it, and like that. And of course, you don't want to output your rectangle there. And that's how I remove the text around the engraving, so that I can have more real estate for my testing. And that's about it. I mean, the thing is that with the, I don't want to bash again, LightBurn, I was able to do what I needed to do. But the amount of work, I mean, we're talking here, we're going over this stuff. I'm checking the cameras, I'm trying to switch back and forth. I got a lot of stuff on my table. So it does take time within xTool Studio. But I can tell you that if we were doing this live, we were in my shop, right? I can tell you it's only a couple of seconds, minutes, because it's fairly straightforward though. So don't forget to write your notes. Don't forget to write the notes on the back of the engravings. I heard that xTool Studio now allows you to, write some notes, do some logs of your processes or settings and things like that. I want to look into that. So that's probably another video. So when this is ready to engrave, double check everything needs to be where it needs to be before you submit it. And then once you submit it, just stay there. There's another thing that you can test, and this is a little more detail that perhaps we need to get into this particular video, but there is this lines per centimeter, right? Now, lines per centimeter is how dense those lines get engraved, right? And you get a lot of detail from there. A lot of nice shadows and all that stuff comes from playing with this. I can tell you for this guy, I use 180. That's my go-to. Let me switch it. LPC 180, right? This is the DPI, the line interval. You just got to go online, Google it, the translation between LPCs to DPIs and all that good stuff. So you can play with this, and you can go and assign, the different lines per centimeter. But I tend to focus on power and speed first before I go and changing the lines per centimeter. Like I said, the more lines per centimeter you apply, you're going to get a little more, contrast, sometimes more detail, or sometimes too much. And you got to, play around with that one. Of course, it's more time. You got to anticipate that's going to, I think that's the one setting that drives a lot of the wait time. A lot of the wait time comes from that LPC, DPI, lines per inch, whatever. So be mindful of that, right? So that's a topic for another video, but you got to watch out for that. If you want to test that, that's great. Just start with power and with the speed. I never try to mix too many things at once, because then I can get lost. All of a sudden I'm changing the power, the speed, and then I'm changing the lines per centimeter or the bitmap mode. Next thing I know, I don't remember what I changed or what actually helped the image, So you got to be mindful of that. So let's say you submitted this, you know, it's engraving, you are done, you open the lid, right? Wait for those fumes to get, you know, sucked by the machine first before you open the lid. Take a look at your engraving, but don't judge it inside the laser. The lighting inside of these machines, they're not always great. Some brands, I mean, you can't see anything. I have really bright lights in my shop, and I opened that lid and I can't really tell. So plus the tinted lids and, you know, the shadows. You might tell yourself, hey, listen, you know, I need another pass. And that's not it. If anything, if you want to go for another pass, just make sure you're 100% sure that this is what you want to do, because it's very easy to overdo it. And if you do another pass, don't move it, right? To judge it properly, take it out of the laser and go to an area where you have more of a neutral light, clean it, right? Inspect it. In my case, you know, nowadays I'm using this magnifying glass to be able to tell, you know, some of this stuff, some of the squares, they get very, very small, right? And that's another reason why I only do a few, right? So, I tell you, I mean, I'm getting old. I don't know if you've noticed. My wife noticed. So yeah, I make no excuses. I bought myself this really cool magnifying glass that has light coming out of one of the, both ends. I don't know where I placed it. I see it now. Let me just switch you here. Look at this. I'm not ashamed, folks. I'm not ashamed. This works. And if you do any sort of like miniature type of work or detail work, you know, this guy just works like a charm. This is not sponsored. This is me being very honest with you guys. It's got the nice little light. You know, I use it. I use it more often than I care to admit, but it works. It works. So yeah, don't judge it while it's still inside the what's called the laser. Clean it. I often use just this type of cloth. You know, with canvases, I go dry first. You know, and just making sure that, you know, I don't overdo it. I blow it with this little blower, you know, just to get some of that dust out. Yes, overkill, I know, but that's how I do things. You know, right? So you clean it. Sometimes, if I'm comfortable with the way that the paint cured, I use wet wipes, but you know, found out how expensive they can get, not only in the shop but here. I've been stealing them from the wife, and that created a little more friction. So yeah, just go easy with this stuff. Just clean it, you know, blow it nice and good. With slate, same thing. Don't judge it while it's still in the machine. With a slate, I actually use the same cloth and some alcohol. Just rubbing alcohol, nice and good. Clean it before I judge it. Inspect it, right? And use this magnifying glass if you need it. So there's some loose debris that you will see, and some of this ones you can still see it. But do the best you can. Do the best you can so that you get a clean canvas, a clean reference there to see it. So let me just double check here for any comments or questions. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I will say hi to Mrs. Builds here too. Thank you. Good to see you. I really enjoy your videos. this little screen for the comments. Let me just highlight this one. I really enjoy your videos and the info. I just don't have an xTool, so I have to do all the testing without much info for my mount. Yeah, it is what it is. But I can tell you, I mean, if you have a 20 watt or a 5 watt, 10 watt, 40 watt, whatever it is, many people out there doing this stuff. And to be honest with you, I mean, you can still take some of the higher type of speed power combination, just slow it down, lower the power, and go little by little, so you don't overdo it or burn your canvas. The reason I use panels is because when I was using framed canvases, those are a lot more delicate. It was easy to burn a hole through it, which I did many times. Panels are very forgiving. Plywood also is very forgiving. Stone is very forgiving. On top of that stone, you can sand it and reuse it. So look at this guy. I'm so happy with this guy. So this little puppy, I show it every chance I get. It's the same process. 2 coats of white, 1 coat of gray, and then 1 coat of black. Invert it, do your testing, and this is what you get, right? Write down your power speed combination, right? Don't mind the little lions. That was another test that I was doing. But the great thing is that then you sand it, and you can reuse it. Sand it and reuse it. This is another version here, right? This guy is acrylic paint, acrylic black paint. This guy was sanded. So I sanded down, 80 grit, removed the previous engraving, right? And then I applied a coat of black acrylic, and then I engraved my test arrays. With this guy, I made a mistake. I didn't do the smaller cropping of the image. I guess this is a good example to show you why you don't do that. Because, I mean, it's kind of difficult to see what is what. You see there a little white dot there that I put there. That's because that's the one that I liked. And yeah, so it makes it a little more complicated to see what you think it will work. But it worked. So this is, again, I'm just showing it off. Black acrylic. I've shown this before. I don't know why I'm showing it again, but I really like it. And this is that combination of 2 coats of white, 1 coat of gray, and 1 coat of black. Right? Same process. Same testing process got me to the same spot. So it's all about just sticking with the process, making sure you clean things, and evaluate the engraving once you get it out of the machine, nice and clean, good light, and all that good stuff. So then this is kind of like the trick right now, right? Evaluating the result of this stuff. What changed? What? I think I hit something. I don't know. Let me show you. You got to start figuring out what changed, where things improved, where things kind of got lost there somewhere, right? You got to work with the original, right? So what I do often is I take the original on the screen, right? And then I try to get as close as I can. What is missing from the image? What happened around the eyes, for example? The darker areas. Are there things that, were not engraved at all, right? Like this is obviously more engraved. This is less. This is much less. So you got to find that those details that are present or not from the original image. And then you start, gauging what power and speed combination got you there. So what happened when you up the speed? What happened when you up the power or lower the power? And you start seeing, okay, this is missing. This has got more lines here. This one doesn't. And then at the end, try to do the best you can to match it to the original. But here is where that taste, plays an important role, right? So you got to understand that it's all a matter of taste. It's all a matter of your judgment here plays 100% into what you will end up with. So more folks will spend more time. I tend to. I've seen a lot of people showing a lot of great engravings, but sometimes I feel like they could have done much better with just 1 or 2 or 3 more testing, just little squares, right? Just little boxes. So, and like I said, once you start seeing similar squares that look very close, always side with the one that gets done quicker, with the faster speed. So, I mean, it's all a matter of trial and error, right? And it's you can have a lot of fun with this or a lot of frustration, right? The main thing is that as you read it, you figure, okay, this is too faint, too weak, right? Then I got to increase the power or slow it down, right? Slow the speed. Is burning too hot? Is this too bright? I got to reduce the power or up the speed. You get, for example, too much detail disappearing, right? You got to slow down you got to turn down the power, right? It gets confusing. I mean, there's so many combinations, So that's the key of this. The whole thing here is like, it's a bit of an art by itself, just trying to figure out what's the right combination. So you got that basic relationship, power and speed, right? So I just noticed one of my camera died. So that means we're getting up there in, when it comes to time. So this is all data. And with that data, you got to figure out what direction you want to move to. So anyway, let me just take a quick look at the comments here. You need glasses too, I tell you. I mean, it happens. It happens. Yeah, and more and more people are also, I work with computers all day long. And more and more people have told me the same thing. I don't know if you guys are going through this, but my eyesight got really bad fairly quickly. And, once I couldn't fake it anymore, now I'm literally reading, this is for like eye drops. I'm literally reading this stuff like down here. Because up here, no, I can't do it. I'm doing that number. And I got 2 or 3 pairs of glasses. So, it happens. So don't be ashamed, just go with what you need to do. So let me double check here again. How many, where's the screen? I really got to get better with this software for the, how many material tests you normally have to do for each image? Well, here's the thing. I normally do as many as I can fit on the canvases I prepare. And often I prepare 3-4 canvases One for the final engraving. I know that one is reserved for the final engraving. And then 2, because like I said, there's so many moving pieces. Sometimes the paint, you let them sit. I've had canvases sitting on my bench for days, and somehow it just never cured. One canvas was bubbling. I've never seen that before. One night it got really cold, and one of the canvases cracked. I engraved the microphone on that canvas, and it looked great because that canvas actually had a ton of previous engravings done. But yeah, it's a matter of, do you feel lucky? And I don't. I often don't. So I normally go with 3 canvases, 1 for the final engraving, and then 1 for and 2 for the testing. And like I said, another reason why I went with the panels and not the canvas frames is because the panels are much cheaper. I think I can buy 2 or 2.5 panels for the price of 1 framed canvas. So it gets expensive. So you do what you gotta do, but 3 is normally where I start working with. Sometimes I forgot to do removing the text or forgot to do many things, and yeah, then you waste a lot of canvas and you waste a lot of time. And of course, don't forget that no matter how much you prepare your stuff, no matter how much your image is good and how you prepare that image and how much you're comfortable with everything, take a look under the hood. Don't forget to do your maintenance when it comes to your laser. I don't know if it's just the way I'm doing things, but often the xTool S1, the module doesn't get all that dirty, and I've gone for hours doing this stuff. But I got a very good extractor going. Plus, another thing that I've done lately is, lately, half a year, is changing the way I process the engraving. Let me show you what I mean. So you get your grid ready, right? You're ready to submit it. I believe it's under the process here. Let me see. And I set, is it, I think I just do the use existing curve direction. I don't remember where it is. Did they change it again? Right, so you go to processing pass, user define. And here, what I do is from bottom to top. So we'll start engraving this way. Hopefully you can see my screen as I'm moving, but pretend that this is the laser, so it's going up. Normally by default it goes down, the laser goes down, but as the module travels up, and on the xTool S1, the extractor is here somewhere, right? On this part of the machine. Imagine this, the bed of the machine. Your extractor is here somewhere. So as the module starts to go this way, all that burnt paint and dust, instead of being deposited and being engraved over as you're moving up, is actually being sucked that way. So there's very little residue that stays behind. If you engrave from top to bottom, right, that thing is going to be basically burning the dust and paint. So that has worked very good. And when I finish engraving using the H2D, also it's got a very good extractor. The module was very clean, and I'm going for hours. So every once in a while, I get the module out, I wipe it clean, some cloth around, some Q-tips, try to get to the module, always test it, always check it, because like I said, you can do everything right, but if you're not doing the maintenance, take a look. It doesn't take much, especially if you know what you're doing. You've done it a few times, right? The first couple of times that I removed the module on the S1, I was panicking. I dropped it, So now I'm very careful how I remove things, the order in which I do things. I do have an electric screwdriver, so that helps a lot. My hands are, also not they don't work the way they used to, so I tend to drop a lot of things. And you got to deal with maintenance and make sure that you have a good amount of time and money invested into making sure that your machine gets the proper accessories and those inline exhaust. And it doesn't have to be the one sold by your manufacturer. You can just go to Lowe's or Menards or Home Depot, whatever you have, and find yourself a proper inline exhaust. And that will help a lot with the maintenance. And some folks have asked me, do you get a lot of the smell of the chemicals? Some. I've been working here in the office because my garage gets either very cold in the winter or too hot in the summer. And with the temps in the hundreds that we have had here as of late, I can't work in the shop. So the leadership here has allowed me to work from the office. But with the some of those air purifiers that come with the machines, or you buy for $200 or $250, I can still smell some of that stuff. So I'm here in this office, I can open all the windows. These things are covered with windows. That's why you see curtains. And that's the way I approach it. Because you will, if you don't have a way to, vent outside, you will, you will smell some of those fumes. Those 200, 300 euro air purifiers, they do okay, but for those kind of situations, I would say it's worth it to invest some time doing the research and to save up to something that can help you truly extract some of those fumes, whether it is from canvases or plywood. When I do plywood, the boss is not very happy with that because it actually stays. And you open those little air purifiers, and they're dark by the hole. I don't know if that design it works that way, but anyway, I was talking about the same thing in one of my videos, and this guy's from Fume Clear contacted me and said, "Hey, listen, we got something that might help out." So I'm putting it through the paces. We'll see. I need to stay here in the office, so I'll try anything that will allow me to stay here because it's much nicer. The lights are better, so I can show you stuff better. I got comfy chairs. My garage, I need to invest a lot of money and time to get it up to snuff. So, I think this is about it that I wanted to cover, right? Making the grid is fairly simple, right? The useful part is actually knowing how to use it, right? What kind of information you need to get out of there, but don't stress about it. It's going to take you some time, and just do what you can, get it to the point where you like it, take a good couple of pictures, right? Share them, put them on Facebook, tag me. Hey, Alex, take a look. What do you think about this? And I will tell you. Normally, what I ask people, the first question I ask when people ask me, hey, can you take a look at what do you think, is, are you satisfied with it? Are you happy with it? Because, that's what matters. I often make my engravings. I get them to the point where I like them. And I go to the wife because she's got better eyes than I do. And she will tell me flat out, hey, this is good. Or, I show her the original. I show her the engraving. She will tell me. But then I take pictures. I even take pictures of my tests. And I send them up through the webs to Facebook. And people will tell me. And people will also show you their engravings with their settings. So, the thing is that community works fantastically. As I was mentioning earlier, you just gotta look up a canvas engraving or stone engraving, slate stone or plywood, whatever it is. People are awesome. For the most part, people have been fantastic. And you can compare notes. Or like I said, ask me. Share with me. I only have 2 eyes, and I'm doing this because I love to do this. So, anything you show me, I'm going to love. But, I will also tell you, listen, maybe you want to up this or that. At the end of the day, I think often you have the answer within you. And that sounds like a little, kumbaya. But often the answers, you already know. When people ask me, hey, I'm evaluating this or looking for that. I think I want to buy a new laser, or I think I want to buy a new 3D printer. What do you think of this and that? Often I already know that they have decided already. Same thing with some of the settings. Sometimes I might say, listen, I will do this, I will do that. You already know what you like, and often you will do what you think is best for you. But always share, always ask. And I tell you, it's an amazing hobby. It's a great time to spend some evenings in the garage. It's a great therapy for some of us. And, I hope you guys keep showing up for more of this stuff, more engravings of stone or plywood. I want to try going back to engraving glass, because when I bought the S1 and when I've gotten some of this other lasers, the manufacturers always send like some small sample package with stuff. So I kept seeing this color paper, and then I found out that is to engrave glass or metal, right? There's a whole process that you go through with water, and then you stick it on the surface of your metal or glass or ceramic or tiles, right? And then you can engrave it with your diode laser. The problem is, I didn't know, right? This is many months back, but I didn't know at the time that's what it was for. So I just kept piling them up, and I have a nice collection now of different engraving paper, right? Marking paper. And I really liked working with glass also. I have many videos where I was doing testing of tempera, chalk paint or acrylic paint, and then the marker from xTool, right? That laser marker. And I put them through a bunch of tests, and now I want to test that paper. So if you're interested in those kind of things, I do a lot of different things with my laser other than just cutting and engraving plywood. I love to test different materials, different types of approach to things, techniques. And I love it when some of you guys ask me, hey, have you tried this approach? Because that gets me thinking. The wife don't like it so much, because then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I can try this. I don't remember the name of the powder, but some sort of chemical to burn on plywood, I think, and you get like awesome results. I don't remember the name of the chemical right now, but if you guys remember, just post it there. But that got me thinking, maybe I can try it. So that's how it starts. So, and, like I was saying earlier, if you guys like what you see, like what you hear, you want to know more, you want to go through the process of learning how to do the canvases or stones or, this testing of glass, subscribe. If this live stream was of any use, please, do what the algorithm loves, which is those likes, those comments down below. And I hope to kind of continue to do some of this live streams. I really enjoy them. They're a lot nicer than just filming, stopping, doing what you need to do. Is talking about the stuff that I love. And I hope that that love also can help you get started with your own process. And I insist, you can start sharing online, do Facebook. And once you get comfortable with things, who knows, maybe start your own YouTube channel. I think many of us never counted YouTube as anything other than, just education and entertainment. But for many of us, this is not only sharing the good news, but also becoming a very nice way of meeting people, getting the word out there, getting people excited about things. And then companies want you to test machines. And then on top of that, at some point you start getting money from YouTube. So don't discount it. You might start little and just keep going. and just show up, do the work, be consistent, and think about the people that you're doing this for, and you will do great. So if you're here, the live stream, don't go anywhere. We can continue. We can do Q&A. But if you're watching the edited version, I will see you in the next one. So that's the way I wanted to kind of finish it, so that I can, clean it for the editing. But yeah, if you're here, I'm not going anywhere. I still got a bit of Coke left here. And tomorrow's Friday. This is the way we party now, So this is the way we party. Let me take a look at the comments. And let's see. Let me go back. Oh, wow. Many comments. Great. Thank you. I have so many test grades accumulated of the last year's Cummins hand. Oh, yes, 100%. I got a tote, a couple of bags. I should do a better job at, labeling things and saving them, storing them for retrieval later. But yeah, they come in handy. Like I said, my memory, sometimes I don't know, whatever. But I rely on the software to keep. If I don't write down or if I don't engrave the speed and power, I rely on the software. Sometimes I just take a picture, to be honest with you, to keep some of that info handy, or I write on the back of the stone in this case, right? I write the settings. Right, then it gets a little bit complicated if I use it for other things. But yeah, whatever I can to remember the settings, I will do whatever I can. And yeah, the more you use it, the more material that you use, sometimes you can get a little complicated. Let me take a look. I use AC Infinity 6-inch inline fans, one the laser and one at the end of the exhaust pipe. I'm using an 80 watt. Oh yeah, you're taken care of. You're taken care of. Yeah, when I bought it, I was thinking maybe this is overkill, but it works. Like I said, it helps so much with the cleanup. Very little cleanup. So yeah, that's great. And they're not that expensive. I mean, at the beginning, I thought they were like $300, $400. I mean, I guess you have a range. You can go very cheap or very expensive. I just got Ruby. I just got an S1 20 watt and I'm lost. Well, yeah, I mean, I can see why. I mean, I had the same feeling, and I bet you many of us, if you ask here, they went through the same. There's a lot to learn. It's a lot to go through all at once. You got that shiny machine. I was so excited when I got the S1 40 watt. I bought it. I saved. I convinced the leadership here that it was a good idea. She supported me even after I bought the CNC. I went to the laser. I unboxed it. At that time, I wasn't really filming things. I was just so excited. The nice little ties I remember, the book. I mean, they do a really good job. xTool does a really good job, I think, with the whole unboxing experience. Then I got it situated. It was bigger than I thought, that I expected. I needed a proper table, which I didn't have at the time, so I had to build one. And then I kind of let it be there for a while, and it was sitting on that brand new table, and I didn't know what else to do from there. It was a bit of a mix of things, because I went from a 5 watt laser that you basically had to do everything for it to this beautiful machine ready to go. New software to learn, a lot of stuff to go through again. And it looks so nice and clean. I just, it took me forever. At that time, there were not many people using xTool S1 40 watts. So I had to kind of go through a lot of testing. And at the end of the day, it was just more like, okay, I just got to do it. I spent too much money on this stuff. I just got to go through it. And like I said, there's so many kind people out there. They're willing to help. And with a 20 watt, you can do a lot. I did a video not too long ago where I was comparing 10 watt, 20 watt, 24 watt, and 48 watt. Just doing different type of testings. And yeah, the 20 watt is very capable. It actually got me a lot nicer engraving than the 48 watt. Right? You think 48 watt and they sell you all this other stuff and the brochure looks nice and everything. But at the end of the day, the 20 watt, the detail was much, much better. And it was slower, but we're not talking hours. It was just a little slower. But the quality of the detail, because the dot of the laser is smaller. You got to find that out also and do the testing according the shape, the size, and all that good stuff. But the 20 watt laser I was using got it done. No problem. 10 watt even was really good. Again, you're dealing with, waiting around a little bit longer, but not a big deal. Let me see. So yeah, sorry, Ruby, if you need anything, just send me a message. Post your questions online. Post on my page. Whatever you want. We can figure it out. Those people are fantastic, and there are many people there willing to help. The laser engraving for beginners and some of the xTool specific Facebook pages are great. And people are eager to help. So, Rick, I just bought a heap of that paper, less fuss and mess than paint. Would love a video on that. Yeah, I'm so curious. I saw a couple of videos. I mean, I'm not judging the production quality, but it was a little bit difficult to see what the people were doing. The process was not well explained. I could see that it worked, but also the outcome of the engraving wasn't as solid. And I thought, well, if my wife wanted to do this, could she follow this video and get it done to the quality where she's going to be happy with it? The answer was no. There's no way. I just didn't understand how the people were doing it, how long they waited, how much they needed, how they tested it. What about the water? You got to wait long. Does it stick properly? Can I reuse it? Does it become unglued, undone? Is it easy to remove? All that stuff, how long you wait, maybe share your powers and settings. So in general, so I can copy them. So I have a starting point. The ones that I saw, and I saw maybe 2 or 3, and I put the paper aside and I thought, you know what? I'll do my own video. I'll go through the process. I'll learn how to do it. So I will. That's the one I'm actually looking forward to. Truly. So I'll let you guys know. Borax. Yes. I haven't used it, but I know a lot of people swear by it. And every so often I get somebody saying, hey, have you tried borax? I don't know. I mean, I don't know much about this kind of chemicals, the reaction with, the laser. I know many folks, for example, had a very hard time when I was talking about moly dry lube to engrave or mark metal in glass. But the thing is that I always start with the same statement. I'm working during nicer weather. I open both doors of my garage and I go outside and I use one of them tents, Wagner, like a small spray booth tent thingy. And I have an oil fan tied in the back. I mean, it's very DIY, but it works very nicely. Plus, I'm outside. I wear the respirator. I wear the gloves. I wear the whole setup, the whole PPE setup. And my assumption and my hope is that everybody understands that we're dealing with chemicals here. Now, borax, I'm sure, is more like a salt or something. But yeah, I want to try it. I really want to try it. But we'll see. We'll see. And that's what I was thinking of, borax. But then there was another chemical people were also recommending. I can't remember. I can't remember the other one. Mike posted an image on your community for your opinion. Hey, great. Appreciate it. We'll take a look. I love that. And please stay in touch. I mean, I love when people leave you messages, and I love to hear from them. I often, send messages. Hey, how are you? Because I want people to stick with it. Many people get frustrated, right? Ruby was sharing also that she's lost. Stick with it. Especially, like I said, it's such a great hobby, but there's so many people out there willing to help, yours truly included, right? I'm doing this for only about a year and a half, and I feel like I've learned so much because, when you find a good resource online, stick with it. They put in the time with the videos, the research, and they're making themselves available for my questions. A lot of people were fantastic. The Louisiana hobby guy, amazing. And the time that he takes to explain things in detail, and the guy knows his stuff. He's been around. He's a great resource for the folks doing more xTool stuff. There are plenty of other guys. Chris from 3D. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have the names here. But great guys on YouTube. The Clack Shack, right? Vintauri. Just to name a few. I mean, there are tons of guys that have done these reviews, and they've done work with these machines. So yeah, check them out. Don't give up. I mean, many projects fail for many reasons, and it's often not just one reason. It's not just the machine. It could be the prep. It could be you are rushing through things. Not you, Ruby. I'm saying in general. There's so many things that can go wrong. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people posting their machines. Hey, I'm selling my, 3 weeks old XYZ brand, never used or used a couple of hours. Don't give up. It takes a little bit, but then you're cruising. After a few projects, you will be in good shape. It's like most things, right? Just gotta dedicate the time. Ruben Marcus, how are ya? Good to have you. Right? So, and by the way, I'm putting together a video about that. The why projects fail. Like I said, it's sad to see people invest all that money, get the machine, get excited, and then give up. Oh, I love this one. Please do leave a thumbs up if you haven't already. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yeah. So if you guys want to help out each other out, find me on Facebook. You guys can link up, help each other out. Hi, are you going to make videos for xTool Studio on 01 Omni soon? Right. That is kind of an interesting situation with xTool because I've made a lot of videos. They contacted me not too long ago. They asked me a few things about my videos, and involving Atom, that's their online community, and some of that good stuff. And yeah, we never communicated again. I would love to. I mean, I'm doing videos with my xTool S1. I love the machine. It's what got me here, and it still works great. Somebody was telling me, it doesn't have a camera or whatever. It doesn't, but some of the other tech that it does have is amazing. It's very reliable, my experience. I paid for that machine and for the accessories. And the software keeps getting better and better. I would love to work with them. I would love to, highlight some of the other machines that they have because I'm so curious about what they have. But yeah, it hasn't happened. Of course, if they reach out, we'll talk, and hopefully it will be something meaningful for you guys. Often I get companies contacting me, and that's the thing. Once you start getting to a certain number of subscribers or watch hours or whatever it is that they look, you start getting weekly emails, 2-3 times per week, with people asking you to review their machines. Many of them look great on paper, but I don't know how many of you guys are interested in 10-watt open frame machines. I'd rather go for something that is going to be more meaningful for the average folks. And many of the folks through my Sunday polls, I've asked, hey, listen, so where are you at experience-wise? What will you add next? And a lot of you guys have told me, listen, I will get a 40-watt or I will get a CO2 machine. Many of you have said, you already been at the 5-watt or 10-watt level, or you are at the 5-watt, 10-watt level, but you're ready to move on. So, yeah, I would love to do some work with xTool, but, if it happens, happen. If it doesn't, I'm going to wait for a good piece of equipment that will highlight some new tech, something different, not just power, but different tech that will allow us to do this hobby of ours in a more efficient, more productive way, And many of you guys are doing this for businesses, so you need reliability. You don't need gimmicks, right? So, yeah, whenever those machines come this way and they pass the test, right, we'll go from there. But yeah, I would love to work with someone like xTool or any other brand that is doing something different, bringing great machines out to the market, to us folks. So we'll love that. Yes, hang in there, Ruby. Definitely don't give up. Is an amazing experience, and there's so much to learn. If you're looking for something to keep you, busy, entertained, satisfied, like I said, I use it as my therapy. If you want to do business, if you want to do all this kind of stuff, I mean, this is a fantastic hobby. I was thinking about that the other day because I have this huge CNC. I have this Shapeoko 4 XXL, whatever. Love it. The problem is I can only work with it for a specific amount of time because, my little ones, they take naps. I got my neighbors that are not that far. And after 8 p.m. or so, I can't make that kind of noise with the CNC. With a laser, I've been working at 2 o'clock in the morning. No problem. Yes, it's got the fans, the extractor, whatever, but no issues. And our HOA is kind of, a little tough. No issues with the lasers. But then again, I'm lucky in many regards. I can do this and opening the windows for the fumes and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of good stuff. And, stick with it. And if we can be of any help, just ask. I don't use a camera. I place construction paper on the bed of my laser and cut the outline of the material. That gives me a one-time template of exactly where the engraving will be. Yeah, amazing. That works. Great tip, too. I use the slow squares, right, on the software itself. I'm lucky because with the xTool S1, also that module, as you move that module, you navigate that bed, it will show up, the crosshairs will show up on the screen. So the placement, and you can do multiple, what are they calling? Marking of your, for example, canvases. You can have multiple pieces of plywood that you can use. I've seen folks using it as they have offcuts. They just place them in different parts of the bed and they just use the marking with the xTool S1 without the camera. And remember that camera, this Bamboo Lab H2D, has a very good camera, really good quality. But you also need to calibrate it. You also need to kind of trust and verify. Don't get too close to the edge because you're thinking that the camera is showing you the right place. No, don't trust it. It doesn't work 100% of the time the way it's advertised. And I was just looking at this because often they say that if the material is thicker than 3 millimeters, you will start having issues with the camera, the fisheye or whatever. So it will distort that measurement of the camera. So, I mean, you can fall for what the brochure says. It's nice, don't get me wrong, but it's not 100% all the time. Alrighty, so 2 hours, right, is midnight out here in Bill's land. I'm sure it's pretty early there across the pond and down under, right? So if you guys have more questions, I can stick around. If not, we can stop here. Of course, please, in the comments, let me know. Do you like this type of sessions? Would have been better just to get a 12-minute video. I can do that too. As a matter of fact, I will do that with this video. I will cut it down to a proper size with the good information. And, it's one of those things that is surreal, right? And that we're here, that we're, sharing this passion, that we're able to talk about, what we love to do, helping each other, being there for each other. And I really hope that these videos that I'm making, these live streams that I'm putting together do bring you good info, some, tips, some level of entertainment, and that they're useful, at whatever level you're consuming this. And I'm planning on keeping, the bi-weekly now, delivery of videos. I was trying to do weekly, but it's almost impossible with the commitments I have here at home with the 2 little ones and also my full-time job. But I'm doing what I can because I love doing this. And I want to bring you, whatever quality of video I can put together for you with the proper experience, right? Not something that I read somewhere or, a reaction video of sorts. No, I want to show you what I've done, what I've gone through. Also, my reviews. Somebody made a comment the other day. It says, hey, I noticed that you keep those machines and you keep working on those machines for months and months. Yeah. I do the original unboxing, but then it takes months to get to know your machine, to break it, repair it, to put it through its paces, get to the limits of what that machine can do. It's not something that you can do on one review. So I tend to put that machine through its paces. And that's why I'm working with the H2D. Plus, it's here, indoors. But it's a very capable 40-watt laser, and it does fairly well in comparison to my S1. The S1's got more space this way, right? The H2D's got more space this way. So is for my line of work, if you're doing 4, 5 coasters, it's great. If you want to do 12, you start running into issues, right? But I tell you, for what I'm doing, it's a great unit, and I will continue to use it because I want to be able to come back to you and tell you, just like I did with the S1, listen, I used it for 1 year, and this is what I found out. Is it still worth it? I think is the S1 is still worth it. Perhaps not at the prices that I bought it originally, but I can tell you it's a solid machine. Solid machine. If I were to do it again, I will buy it again. The H2D is a fantastic machine. It's amazing. I can't believe I have it sitting here behind me. It is a 3D printer / laser. So there are a lot of things that are great about it and a lot of things that I still need more time to work with the unit for. Because as you're doing cutting plywood, engraving canvases, stone, doing all that work, and then you're doing 3D printing with that machine, that maintenance is very detailed. You got to go and scrub every corner. You got to be, on top of it. I have a little vacuum that I'm using all the time because, I want to make sure that as I'm doing 3D printing, I don't have pieces of plastic that then are going to be burned or something, as I'm doing laser work. Or as I'm doing 3D printing, which already happened, by the way, I don't want a piece of wood or a piece of, or dust or stone to end up, contaminating my 3D printing. So there's a lot of, good testing that I still need to do. I still need to break it. It hasn't given me any trouble so far. And so far that speaks for great tech, for a great machine. At a price. Because take a look. The H2D combo 3D printing / 40-watt laser module / cutting module, and you will see a great machine if you can afford it. So, yes, I will continue to highlight that machine, not to try to sell it to you, but mostly, listen, it's a real life experience. My commitment to Bamboo Lab already has been, completed. We are done with what I agreed to do, which was the one video. Everything else is on me. You will still see the, this is a paid collaboration or whatever it is that, I have to put it. I always put it in there. I did it with the Acmer P3 work that I did, because even though it's been 6 months, 10 months since I fulfilled my commitment to do the review and to demo it and test it, as I'm doing that months later, I still want you to know that machine was sent to me so that we're all on the same page. But I'm also very firm, and I tell you, this is what I like, this is what I don't. The other day, the 48-watt broke. I show it on camera. It didn't work. I tried to make it work. It didn't work. I finished the project anyway. But that's where I'm at, and that's why you will continue to see this machine most likely. So 10 a.m. over there. Awesome. 6 p.m. in Virginia also. Awesome. Got here late. Got here late. Do you invert on your color canvas pictures? Yeah. You do the same. Sorry. Let me see. Yeah. You still got to invert. You're starting with a black surface, right? Because the last layer, the last paint is black. And you go from dark to lighter, right? In this case, black, red, yellow, white, and you invert it. So, yeah, this is great. And I forgot to invert it. I don't have it here, but I have one engraving where I forgot to invert, and it's hard to see or hard to know what I was trying to do there. So always invert. All right, folks. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your questions, for participating in the chat. Let me know in the comments if you're satisfied with this kind of live streams. If you are, I can start planning them once a month. I don't want to overdo it. I tend to work hard in the different videos that I make, and I want to focus on quality, but also I want to make sure that I'm available if you have any questions, or I want to share with you what I'm doing, what I'm working on. I have a website too, right? SevernalLiving.com. SevernalLiving.com. I have a newsletter. In that newsletter, I share a lot of the stuff that I'm working on behind the scenes. I'm sending that newsletter once a month because I don't want to, become a pest and end up in your spam folder. So I'm very careful with that. I know other creators, I get 2 or 3 newsletters per week from one creator, and it's just like a little too much. I respect the guy, tremendously, but 2-3 emails per week, I think is too much. So I do once a month. I'm also on Patreon. Some of the stuff, it gets a little overwhelming sometimes. Materials get expensive, and there are very kind people out there helping out the channel, supporting what I'm doing here. Same thing out on YouTube. There are a bunch of YouTube members, and I'm always thankful for their kindness. They believe in Severna builds. They're trusting my videos. They're trusting me, and I don't take it lightly. I think it's just a fantastic way to support creators that are doing this for other folks just like you. Me and you, we're the same. And the fact that some of you guys have decided to help me out, supporting me through your monetary support, it just means the world to me. It is incredible. And all that money always comes back to the channel, to materials, mostly paint, canvas, and all that stuff that I try to use to show you guys what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So if you want to stay in touch, many ways to stay in touch, right? I'm very active on Facebook. I'm not so active on Instagram. I got a TikTok account that I upload stuff once in a while, but it's not my cup of tea. And I'm also on, like I said, YouTube members, and then Patreon. And of course, check out my website, sign up for my newsletter. I tend to share some goodies there, some files that I'm using, some pictures. I made this picture of the owl using Midjourney. I don't know if you guys know Midjourney, but let me show you how crazy this owl looks. 1 second. I don't know where I put it, but it was here somewhere. Well, I tried to get some AI work done using where is my screen now? I got lost. I tried to get some AI done using xTool Studio, but and the credits are not expensive or anything like that, but it got to be a bit too much for some folks, and too complicated with some of those prompts. So in the end, I dropped that whole thing. I wanted to do a couple more videos, but at the end of the day, I'm doing this for you guys, with you guys in mind. And if something that is not something that's going to help you, I'd rather not focus on that. A pity, because I really like the way that the AI made my picture into a video. So that was kind of crazy. Using that Midjourney for a few weeks there just to test it out. So, well, folks, thank you so much once again. I think I've said it a few times already, but it means the world to me that you're here. And reach out. There are many ways to stay in touch, and if I can be of help, please reach out and give me your ideas too for videos too. If you're interested in something specific, I'll give it a try. Alrighty, that's it for me. My name is Alex. Thank you on behalf of the whole Severna Builds family. We're very happy that we are connecting like this, that we are growing the channel like this, and it's just an amazing ride. Thank you for the opportunity. You guys take care. Severna Builds out. Bye.